Hello and welcome back to the Puncher's Chance podcast, and welcome back to the review show where we have a look back at everything last weekend in boxing. Of course, that was the undisputed heavyweight title fight between Oleksandr Usyk and Daniel Dubois. Usyk now 3 times undisputed. Always all the other fights on that card, as well as any other fights around the world. Well, not any other fights, just the ones we care about. We're not going that niche. But for all that good stuff, obviously subscribe for 2 podcasts every week, or follow us on Spotify if you prefer the audio episode. Straight into the action. Oleksandr Usyk. We've witnessed greatness, really, haven't we, with that?
Yeah, I think a lot of people this week have been arguing whether he's the greatest heavyweight of all time, or whether he's certainly in contention to be spoke about as one of the greats. I don't know if you can necessarily put him right at the top, just because I suppose longevity as well. He's only had 8 fights as a heavyweight, but in terms of what he's done in those 8 fights, eclipses what probably 99% of other heavyweights will ever do in their career, and he is just so good. Like, every time you watch him, he just seems to get better.
Yeah, it's mental. Like, you look at the 6 fights, the Dubois, AJ, Fury. Like, he's ticked off 2 of the other best heavyweights of his generation. The man who was supposed to be the one that caused him problems in Poland, he shut that up quick time as well. And like you say, like, that was flat out the best Usyk performance we've seen at heavyweight. And he's 38 and seemingly just, only getting started, as he likes to say.
Yeah, there was a lot of conversation around being 38, and as a veteran myself, I know some people like to play on the age, but taking it back to the start, well, probably even before the start of fight week, but the build up, there was a lot made of the low blow and the age. But I sensed like a real frustration in him of, I've done all this, I've beaten all your best, and you're still trying to like find a way to suggest that I might not be as good as you think I am. And Don Charles, I don't think, helped Daniel Dubois' case at all, because he was really trying to rattle Usyk, and he just got to that point and he was like, what he said during the fight, he was like, don't push the horses.
Don't push the horses, yeah.
I think essentially means stop fucking trying to push your luck, or you're gonna find out.
Adam Smith was saying on commentary, it was that Usyk got kicked in the head, I think, by a horse, because he was spooking a horse, and as a kid, and he was saying that's the only time he's ever been hurt, as in suggesting that Daniel's punch to the stomach didn't hurt him anyway. Yeah. So basically, the only thing that's ever hurt me is a horse, so don't push the horses. But I know what you mean. I was down at the presser, and there was a sense of like genuine frustration and genuine like irritation from Usyk, and I think he genuinely wanted to make a statement in this performance. And I think you can see as well with the reaction as soon as the fight was cooled off, he instantly straight down onto his knees, almost bursting into tears. That was a real sort of cathartic moment. All that emotion came out because, let's be real, the conversation's been, but there's this one blip on his record, which is that Dubois hit him with a low blow and he took the time the ref gave him. And now he's really shut that up big time.
Yeah, I honestly think that on Saturday was possibly the best performance that he's produced of his career so far.
I actually can't think of a more dominant boxing performance under that bigger stage, under the lights like that, certainly in the last couple of years, or certainly since I've been sort of really actively watching boxing. I can't think of one off the top of my head where it was a real statement, and it really just get knocked out again. There you go. I think it's so impressive, and I wish I was smart enough to sort of pick apart and be like, the this, that, and the other. But he is too good for my eyes to suggest why he is so good. He's just perfect at everything. Yeah,
I think the only other like sort of conclusive win I can think in the heavyweight division over the last few years was Dubois' win with Joshua, but I think I put that down more to I think Joshua was really bad that night as well.
But also you got to remember that took, AJ was hurt for every moment pretty much of that fight. He got hurt early and was just holding on for dear life. There was not really a moment where Dubois got a foothold in that fight against Usyk, and it's like, if AJ hadn't been clipped by that one shot by Dubois, how does that fight end? We don't know, but Usyk didn't even let him hit him with that one shot, and eventually it got down to he knew Dubois was hurt. Dubois overextended on that big right hand, and sweet as a nut, he just landed that left hook.
That left hand, absolute clean as you like shot, and he set it up very well. Yeah, like I felt really sorry for Dubois because I know people are going to give him criticism, but I really felt like he did give it everything he had in this fight. He did go out on his shield. He did. I know it wasn't good enough, like it just is the case, but he did. I felt he threw everything at him, and that last right-hander he threw was very much, this is all or nothing now. And obviously Usyk was just too good to the point where he ducked out of the way of it and landed his own big shot. But I don't think you can criticise Dubois too much. I think he just got beaten by what is essentially the better fighter, and there was some criticism as well of him of saying he quit again.
Yeah.
But when I will be completely honest, when I watched it in real time and he went down from that second shot, I was thinking he could have got up, but was there a need to when there's still over a minute left on the clock in that fifth round? If he's going to get up, he was like, his legs weren't really under him from that shot. It was a big shot. Like most other heavyweights probably would have been wiped out completely, which also probably negates the argument that Usyk doesn't have much power to hurt heavyweights as well, because he just flatlined Dubois.
Not to mention he should have dropped Fury if the ref hadn't saved him.
We'll get on to...
Well, yeah, but I think the weird thing with the debate was just the knockout, like you say, because he was and he was counted out, and there is a world where if you're counted out, in theory, you can get back on your feet. But like you say, I think if you're going to be a world heavyweight champion and you're going to be an undisputed champion, and that is the absolute only thing that matters in your life, you get up there.
Yeah.
But who's to say? We're not the ones in the ring. If Daniel decides, do you know what, I think I'm better off fighting another day, then who am I to tell him that? I don't fancy eating that left hand anytime. There's no amount of padding you could put between me and that hand that would say, yes, fine, I'll take that one.
Yeah, I'd tell you one thing for certain, I would not be standing up after that. Well, I wouldn't even be getting in the ring in the first place, but I definitely won't be getting up after that shot.
It is interesting though, you kind of made that point about him going out on his shield. There is a complete mirror between that and that AJ fight in many ways. That the eventual shot
is near enough the same.
Yeah, it's the... I mean, obviously the slight difference being that the Usyk's much smaller, so he had to kind of make Dubois miss and make him pay, whereas Dubois just beat AJ to the shot. But there was a sense of AJ done it. He just went absolute one final swing and thought, if I can't get up from this, so what? Or if I hit him, then it could be good night. And Dubois tried the same thing. And it's, in the same stadium. It's interesting. But I don't think my opinion of Dubois has changed.
No,
people seem to go, this it's so boxing, so reactionary. Everyone's like, Dubois is rubbish now. I still think he is almost certainly the top 3 heavyweights in the world right now.
He poses a challenge to any other heavyweight. It's just that Usyk is so much better than everyone else in that heavyweight division that you can almost negate those losses. He's got the loss against, it's the 2 losses to Usyk, which you can,
and then Joe
Joyce, which was much earlier on in Daniel Dubois' career, where he was still very young.
Not to mention, this was the point where Joe Joyce was good.
Yeah,
and had a tank.
This was near enough prime Joe Joyce, where people were thinking he was the next heavyweight champion from Britain. So, and he said himself, he's gonna come back again, and I think he will. I think we'll still see Dubois win a world title at some point.
Yeah, because Usyk's not going to be fighting until he's 45. Well, and at that point, Dubois is still only in his mid-30s. Yeah. He's still a good heavyweight fighting age.
Yeah, exactly. I think Usyk's probably got 1 fight left in him, and that's something we can discuss later on. But in terms of Dubois, at 27, he's still... it's mad to think because of how many fights he's been in already and these big moments he's had, but he's still got a lot of time really as a professional at the top level, I think. And he'll definitely come again after Saturday. He was just beaten, like he said, he was just beaten by the better man, just too skilled. Usyk was too good for him. Yeah, the other thing that I've seen a lot of people talk about with Dubois, and it's something that always concerns me, is having your father in the corner.
Yeah.
Because I think when he went down, the one man he was looking to at that moment was his father. And I don't think, like, obviously we couldn't see his father, we couldn't see what his father was saying, but from what people have said that were ringside on the night, it didn't seem like they were looking that corner, bar Frank Warren. Everyone else was very much done. Like, I think the towel near enough come in as he was getting waved off anyway. But it always concerns me a bit when you've got your father in the corner, because I know me personally, if I was there and that was my son, there is that thing of like, you don't want to see him get hurt, and like, you don't know what is going to happen if he gets up again from that after already taking a massive shot. If he takes another big one like that, with the sport that they're in, you don't know how it's going to end up, and that's a worrying thing, but also it doesn't help having them in the corner sometimes, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And obviously, we watched it when Fury fought, and that certainly didn't help having Big John, but I think that's probably a different problem in its own right. On that, you've kind of mentioned it a couple of times. What is next for Usyk? It's so difficult because you've got, I think the best fight for Usyk is probably, well, it's probably whatever pays him best, which is probably the Fury trilogy. I think what's best for the heavyweight scene is probably Joseph Parker. And then, what's the best for boxing fans? And at what point do those three things come together and build a fight? What do you think? What do you think will happen, and what do you think should happen?
What I think will happen is we'll see a trilogy for a lot of money.
But he's retired.
Yeah, he's back again.
Oh, what a surprise. Yeah.
What a shock. What I think every boxing fan wants to see and what should happen. There's only two names, I think, now that Usyk should be considering, and that's Joseph Parker and Ajit Cabello. I think they're the only two that are left for him to challenge him, and the two that have earned their spot in the heavyweight division. I think one of those two should get it. I don't think either of them will, because money talks ultimately, and Fury will swan his way in to a trilogy despite somehow trying to con people out of the fact that he got beaten convincingly twice in both fights. He should have been stopped in the first fight. He bounced about that ring for about a minute, and like, I've got the utmost credit for Tyson Fury in how well he can take a shot and how much he recovers, and fair play to him for recovering for the rest of that fight. But that fight, you could make a very strong argument that fight should have been stopped, and if it was the other way round and Fury had Usyk, like, I would have been stopped.
And not to mention, like, even at nothing else, the ref has stepped in to do a standing count, so there should be a point. It should be counted as a knockdown. The ropes kept him up, and that is in those instances, it's a knockdown. So if nothing else, that's a knockdown, and then we know that scorecard is even wider than it was, and Usyk is probably in everyone's eyes had won that fight. Then I think if you put it a point either way, then no one really would be minded to say that Fury had won that fight. I do agree with you, and I hope, like you say, I think that the trilogy will happen because money talks, it's boxing. I really hope that all the governing bodies take a leaf out of IBF's book and don't crown a paper champion, but go, okay, you're not going to fight who we think you should fight. You're no longer our world champion. And then give someone like Joseph Parker, someone like Ajit Cabello, the chance to fight for a world title that they deserve.
Yeah.
If you said to me, you can have Joseph Parker versus Ajit Cabello for a world title, I'd be like, yes, please. That is a brilliant fight. Yeah, exactly. That is an unbelievable fight to watch, and both men are completely deserving of an opportunity to win a world title.
Yeah, I feel like Usyk is obviously the main man at the top, and he's not far from finishing in boxing now. Like he said he's only got 2 fights left, which included Saturday, so he's got 1 more. But I feel like you're on the cusp then of another exciting period in heavyweight boxing. Like, you've got, like, the belts will fragment, and you've got a lot of options there, like you said, with Parker, Cabello. You've got others probably just underneath that. You've got someone like Martin McCauley, for example, I know hasn't really shined.
Toma coming through. Fabio Wardley's on the outskirts. I think Justice Huoney will come good again. Like, there is a lot coming through.
And in terms of Tyson Fury, he's still got the chance to win a world title. I still think he could possibly win a world title, but I don't think that trilogy should be his to have, and it shouldn't be the fight that comes next. You got him versus Joshua, which is everyone still wants to see, and him against Dubois as well, because he can. Like, he was trying to make the argument, it just riles me up, because he's trying to make the argument that he doesn't need to fight Dubois. He doesn't need to fight AJ because Dubois flattened AJ. He doesn't need to fight Dubois because Usyk knocked out Dubois and he went the distance with Usyk, so that automatically makes him better than the two of them. Like, whenever in the history of boxing has that ever made sense?
In Tyson Fury's head is the answer to that. It's the only place it makes sense.
I'd rather him just be honest and just say, I'm skipping them two because I want a trilogy with Usyk. I feel like I can beat him and it makes the most money for the both of us. If you're just honest with people, like you've been like trying to con people for the last like near enough decade of like just shit. It's just
like, I haven't seen you this rattled in a while. This is quite entertaining.
No, it is frustrating. I think like I've got like it's not me like. I suppose it comes across as hating on Tyson Fury. I've got a lot of respect for Tyson Fury for what he's done in the sport, where he come back from. The trilogy with Wilder will stand the test of time as one of the best trilogies in boxing. But like, we've been here before where like certain names and certain positions just elevate you into areas that you shouldn't be getting. And like, there's so many good heavyweights like Joseph Parker, like Cabell, who deserve their shot now, and they're going to miss out again. They're going to waste another year, 18 months of their career waiting for a world title shot because we're waiting on a trilogy when Usyk has already beaten him comfortably twice. It just makes no sense.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, like I say, hopefully they get a world title shot. If nothing else, we'll see. I'm not going to spend too much time elsewhere on the card because, let's be real, it wasn't great. Lawrence Okoli, Kevin Lerena was a very uninteresting fight. Lawrence Okoli, I think, tore his bicep early in the fight, which isn't ideal. But I'm going to be honest, I don't think it was feet. It was his feet that were the problem rather than his hands. He was throwing 1-2s perfectly, looked good. But I just think he looks big, doesn't he?
He looks like... When I was watching him Saturday, he looks like a cruiserweight who has forced himself to become a heavyweight.
Which he isn't, because I've seen him in person.
He is massive.
Every piece of a heavyweight. If he just kept himself slim, like when we spoke to him before the Wembley Arena card, he was looking pretty slim, and he was like, I need to lose a bit, and there wasn't much to lose. Quite a lot to lose. I think he must have been working with Bacoli's nutritionist recently. Going for that technique, but no, I all loved it. I actually don't. I've said before, I thought he was in my top 10 heavyweights, and I think you can't stick by that now, surely. I think at his best he is.
Oh, he's not.
I think it is his best. At his best, he causes anyone outside of the names we've mentioned in this podcast in terms of Usyk, Dubois, Joseph Parker, Ajit Kabiel. I think outside of that, he causes all those guys real problems. I wouldn't be shocked if he gets a world title shot, but.
Well, that was for like what was he?
WBC silver. So in theory, he's a fight away from Ajit Kabiel, mandatory for the WBC. Like, that is...
I just can't see him reaching that. I'm more than happy to be proved wrong, but I can't see him reaching that level. Like, I think he'll possibly fight for a world title. I don't think he'd beat anyone.
No, maybe not. But I just think, and like, it was disappointing.
Kevin Lorena's so confusing as well. Yeah. He seems like he's got the ability. He seems like he's fighting on like 50% effort after.
Yeah, he does a bit. He's odd. It's like he's still sparring.
Well, he dropped Dubois 3 times and had him pretty much beaten and then got and turned over. Like, if there's ever a time to beat Daniel, and it was a moment in Daniel Dubois' career where he was like known as quitter Daniel Dubois as well. So
yeah, but he still managed to come through it. Now Daniel Lappin, Louis Edmondson was close. I said on paper it was going to be a bit of a snooze fest, and it wasn't the most exciting fight in the world, but it was a good fight. It was really well matched. It was really close, and I think a lot of people would agree with us in saying that Louis Edmondson is really hard done by not to be in up into those world title rankings now.
Yeah, it's one of those difficult ones because I personally had Edmondson winning by a round, I think, but like it's like, it was close enough where you could see the lapping was given it or given a draw. I think those last 2 or 3, well, it was the last 2 rounds, because in the 8th round, lapping was bouncing over the like, to me personally, it looked like he was trying to find a way out.
Yeah,
like, it looked as if he was knackered. He felt like he was losing the fight, and he thought, maybe I'm just gonna have to try and find a way to fight another day. But round 9 and 10, I think it was the body shot, like one body shot in particular seemed to really slow Edmondson down, and from their lapping sort of picked up those last 2. So I think that is maybe where it edged it back his way. But I wouldn't mind seeing a rematch between them 2 again, to be fair. Like, or the other fight I would really love to see, especially after that now, is Edmondson and Ben Whittaker.
Yeah,
I think that would make for a
absolutely.
great fight now.
Yeah, definitely. It would be, because I think Louis proven at a point when that Ben Whittaker's fight was being talked about, he probably didn't have anywhere near the stock he's got now. That was seen as a sort of commercial fight that makes sense, that actually Ben Whittaker will get through. And now you're thinking, hang on, like, he could cause Whittaker serious problems, especially with that counter punching. And yeah, I think that'd be a really great fight. But equally, if he wants that lapping rematch, because I think, like you say, I think he's hard. It's not a robbery, but he's just unlucky not to have won it.
Yeah, I think it was just one of those ones where the judge, like, is totally down to what judges who are sitting ringside on our night. But I suppose we're going to have to see what's happening with Boxer and where Ben Whittaker and Edmondson end up.
A few things will have to come into place for that. Quickly, Solomon Dakers as well. Proved a lot of us wrong, I think. I think a lot of us were talking off that loss to Adley, which you didn't really get to see much of him. It was a freak shot. And Serenko on paper looked good, but actually in the ring doesn't.
Yeah, Serenko just looked like a big, stiff heavyweight with a good knockout record that is happy to try and keep walking down his opponent, take shots to the face until they burn themselves out, and then try and finish them. But against someone who's at a half decent level and technically sound enough like Dakers, he's not going to get anyway. And
He's also not the biggest heavyweight, Dakers.
no.
He's not in the biggest frame, so I think he can carry himself quite well for those full rounds, as opposed to a lot of big heavyweights.
Yeah, I'm happy to say we got the prediction wrong on this one, but
Yeah,
I think the concern with me with Dakers was, even though that loss to Adley, like you said, come as a bit of it was a freak shot that caught him sort of on the, well, it was like the side behind, it was like one of those ones behind the ear when they were just sort of knocks you off course. But my concern was, sometimes when you see fighters take a shot like that and get beaten that way, there might be a worry the next time they get in the ring of taking a shot, because you don't know how you're going to react to it. That was my only issue, that maybe he'd be a bit gun shy or like want to tuck up a bit too much. But I thought he'd done quite well. He took the odd shot. I think he still does leave himself open quite a bit to some shots. But I thought, in terms of counter punching and just picking the right moments, I think he done quite well, and I had him winning. Well, I don't know, what was the score?
It was 99, 91, 100.
Yeah, like the scorecards were quite wide in his favour, and yeah, I think that was more than fair enough. I think he dealt with him quite well.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you tried to, a while back, make a habit of making an apology every review show. Is there a man you have an apology to? In terms of on a different card on the night in Las Vegas, a certain Manny Pacquiao.
That was, I couldn't believe it when I woke up the next morning, because
mental.
I was checking Twitter. I was like, honestly, I was looking on it to see what round did Manny Pacquiao get stopped in, and they were like, Pacquiao's been robbed. I was like, what has happened?
Yeah, and I didn't know if it was one of those hype jobs where you, like, the amount of times I've seen on Twitter something, like, you watch it and you're like,
I think it was, that's what I was thinking first of all. Is it just a case of a load of Manny Pacquiao fans who have seen him back in the ring and thought, they've just got so hyped up with it that they're just arguing that he should have won. But
he probably should have.
Barrios was fucking terrible.
Really bad. Like, I always thought of Barrios as the sort of most beatable of the world champions at the weight, and but it shouldn't have mattered. It should not have mattered one bit. Like, I'm sorry, he should not have been struggling against the 46-year-old Pacquiao who's been out of the ring for 4 years. You're the WBC champion, and you've literally
held onto your belt by the finest of margins. It's just, if the WBC wouldn't have been happy, I don't think. No hats for him on Saturday.
No slapping hats on. Do you think, like, we had this slight tangent and we'll get back onto Pacquiao and stuff, but do you think Barrios, after watching that, obviously Conor Ben's talked about wanting a WBC title, like, when you watch that kind of performance, you suddenly think, well, actually, maybe, like, the I've never seen Conor Ben as a world title fighter ever, but after a performance like that, you sort of think, do you know what? It's not out of the realms of possibility by any means.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a thing with Barrios that he had too much respect for Manny Pacquiao and maybe didn't want to let his hands go. And, like, I think maybe it went until the back end of the rounds where his corner was saying, you need to wise up or you're going to lose.
Yeah, but he was getting caught with a lot as well.
Yeah, like, Pacquiao looked off. Like, he didn't look like a fighter at 46 who
he looked somewhat quick against Barrios. Like, he was able to find shots, and it was like, hang on, you shouldn't be getting caught with that. Like, you shouldn't be. The guy hasn't even had a full camp. Like, I'm sure he's kept fit and stuff, but the fight shouldn't have happened. No. Like, it really... I
still stand by the fact, regardless of Manny Pacquiao picked up the win and got the belt, I still would argue that he's not in a position, or shouldn't have been in a position, where he gets a world title fight when there's so many other fighters that are queuing up waiting. But if I was looking at that and I was Conor Ben and we don't know whether that rematch with Eubank is now happening, I'd be jumping all over that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that rematch should be happening. I think they just said a little bit later on in the year, like more November time. Yeah, which we'll see. But yeah, big up to Manny Pacquiao. Fair play to you. Yeah. And it looks like Floyd Mayweather is the talk next. Which, you know what,
we've fallen back to like 2014 or something.
But as a fight, as an exhibition style fight, was Harry
even born when them two first fought?
Probably not. No, probably not. But yeah, like, as an exhibition style fight, I'm not mad at it. Those are two people who should be fighting if they're going to be getting in a ring. They're the similar age, similar, all of this. Albeit I don't actually particularly care for it. But it is mental that could have been for a WBC world title, because he should be the champ. Like, he actually should be. Like, to see,
mad sport, isn't it? It is mad sport.
It is mental. It is mental. Back to a little bit of reality, albeit unbelievable reality, in the form of Bam Rodriguez, who is the dogs. I just, like, any boxing fan who watches something like Usyk and goes, oh, Usyk is the real deal. And Usyk is absolutely the real deal. But Bam is absolutely the real deal, just at a lower weight. Like, he is phenomenal. The way he moves around the target, makes his opponents miss, works to the body. Cafu absorbed an unbelievable amount of damage in that fight to keep going, and before his team threw in the towel. He's phenomenal. Like, it's so joyful to watch.
Yeah, he is so good, and I think that is the only thing that you can say, really, and it's a criticism of boxing, I think, more than anything, of when you get fighters that are so good at a lower weight class, they just don't get the respect they deserve, because most casual boxing fans don't tend to sit down and watch super flyweight world title fights on a Saturday night, especially when they're on in the early hours of the morning for most people. But he is absolutely incredible, and he is one of, you can make an argument, he's one of the top 5 maybe pound for pound fighters in the world at the moment, and I don't think until he steps up weight divisions that he's going to get troubled.
Nah, I don't think so either. I think, you look at bantamweight and you look at Junto Nakatani as probably the only real issue. Up at super bantam, obviously Naya Inoue would be a just phenomenal fight to watch. Really, genuinely beautiful to watch. But other than that, there is really no one around him. I would love to watch the Nakatani fight as well. I think that would be unbelievable if Bam Rodriguez can get up to bantamweight and look good at the weight.
I think the Nakatani fight makes a bit more sense just because they're closer to weights, but I think people would push more for Bam and Inoue just because you could argue that they're slightly bigger names in terms of drawing that
in worldwide, yeah, definitely
more casual audience as well. But yeah, that's the only disappointment there could be for him in terms of his career, is like, when we look back on fighters in years to come, one of the things, well, personally for me anyway, one of the things you always look at and stands out is those sort of rivalries or that they have throughout their career, and sometimes when you're so dominant in a division and there's no one that can really get near you, it's hard to sort of have that sort of longevity in the fans' mindset, I suppose.
Yeah, it is difficult, and obviously he's fighting Puma Martinez, isn't it, in Riyadh next. So thank God, obviously he got through this one first, because Cafu's a difficult.
He was tough.
Operator. He was a tough bugger, but yeah, I think that's a good fight. And then you really are talking about, come on now, like get on up.
Yeah.
Get on up and get moving.
I think that's the only thing you can do with him, which is like, it's a shame in a way for him, because it means he's got to proper test himself against people he probably shouldn't even need to get in the ring with. But in terms of maybe chasing that legacy and probably more importantly big money fights, that's where you're going to have to go, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. It's mental though, because he's truly spectacular. Like I much like Usyk, I can't put into words just how good he is, because I'm not smart enough to be able to analyse to the depth, but just he is a joy to watch. If you guys haven't watched the fight already, do watch the whole thing back, because it is just it's beautiful. It's lovely to watch. Elsewhere, I'm trying to think pick of the fights.
Diego Pacheco done very well.
Yeah, tough, awkward fight that. Macumbi looked solid.
Macumbi's a tough fighter.
He is. He made it difficult for him. I think Pacheco was just happy to box there, and that's what I quite like about Pacheco is he's got a beautiful mix of being so tall and really long and able to box on the end of a jab, and that can win him fights. But actually, you don't really want to get in close with him either, because he does have really nice short hooks and can hurt you in close. So it's kind of like you have to pick your poison, really.
Yeah, him and Hamza Shiraz give me the similar sort of vibes.
And what a fight that'd be at super middleweight, by the way. Like,
well, fucking, if they got a ring big enough to fit the two of them in,
yeah. It would be serious limbs on show in the ring, not the crowd. But and you've got we've talked about it a number of times. It's him and Billy and Shiraz now. Well, are the three that you're saying?
Was Billy? I think Shiraz has been called Fight and Billy.
Yeah, they're talking about that as a fight, which is a great fight again. But it's just those three you're waiting for that Canelo clear out. In the same way you're waiting for Usyk up at heavyweight, is you're kind of waiting for that Canelo Crawford clear out, and then you can start to have those guys step on through and have some fun in the division. Amari Jones as well at super welter. Another great performance from him. Another body shot finish from a prospect, which is my dream. When they do it, they get a little kind of tick from me. He was really good again. We've kind of picked him out.
Nishan Bev as well, he won as well.
I hadn't watched that fight, to be honest.
I haven't caught up with much of this card, to be honest with you. I've only seen the BAM knockout, but them two look like serious prospect talents, and yeah, it was a really stacked weekend of boxing, and like even when Manny Pacquiao was delivering as well, you can't really complain, can you?
Nah, he is everything you'd want. Like the Usyk event in the UK was massive, and I'm calling it the Usyk event because he deserves it. He is the pull, he is the drive now.
Like one thing we haven't mentioned about Usyk is like, one thing that goes on his resume as well is he's the ultimate road warrior.
Big time, so
he's had, what was it, 12? I think he's had 12 world title fights. All of them have been, bar the one in Poland, you could say was technically a home fight of sorts for him. He's gone in the backyard of everyone. Well, he's turned up at Wembley and the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium about 15 times, it feels like, to knock out everyone we've got over here. Yeah,
he won his Olympic gold in the UK as well. I think he won his European Championships in
Liverpool.
In Liverpool as well.
And I like the reception he had as well for it. Like, it almost feels like the UK is sort of like his adopted home in many ways now. Like,
yeah, big time.
For so long, we've just been so used to seeing him come over here, and I think it's got to a point where like British boxing fans have gone, can we just technically call him British?
Yeah,
because he's
absolutely.
just beating the rest of us.
And they're turning up in the Stony jacket as well. It is so good. Like, it's so good. There is nothing more like away day British culture than rocking up in Estonia and knocking a man clean out
at Wembley
Stadium. That is, Wembley hasn't seen a man turn up in Estonia and knock anyone out for a long while. Hooliganism's dead, but Usyk's bringing it back. So much time for it.
Yeah, even like in the eyes of many, he might not be the greatest heavyweight or greatest boxer of all time, but in terms of who I have, especially in my lifetime, who I've sat down and watched.
Lifetime as well.
Yeah, it is, to be fair. Since the start of boxing.
Since the start of time.
Yeah. In my eyes, I think he will go down as my favourite ever fighter, because I've never once sat down and watched him and thought, you are absolutely incredible. Every time.
Off the top of your head, where'd you put him as heavyweights all time? I'm not telling you to do a list. Do you put him top 5?
I think he's got a real strong argument of being in the top 10 at the very least. It's the one thing I hate about trying to make these lists, because you're never realistically going to know. But I would argue that on his day he could have beaten any other heavyweight in history, but there's also some heavyweights out there that on their day could have beaten him as well.
That's heavyweight boxing. I think the way he has beaten every heavyweight of his generation, the best of the best, time twice on each of them basically, and having done it coming up from cruiserweight, it is difficult. That's the problem, isn't it? It's because he's come up from cruiserweight, is that it's hard to kind of, do you include those in his achievements? And what he's done is more impressive because he's come up from cruiserweight, but it doesn't necessarily make him a better heavyweight.
Yeah,
but
he's only had 8 fights a heavyweight.
I think he probably breaks into the top 5 for me.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue against it.
And I think you're talking probably somewhere in the region of the top 10 of all time, pound for pound. I just think.
And in terms of his career,
in the conversation, if nothing else,
in terms of his career, he has been. I don't think you can argue that he's been the most dominant heavyweight of his era. There's been other dominant heavyweights in other eras, but when you look at those other heavyweights, they've won and lost fights in their era. Whereas I don't look at any heavyweight even before he even turned a heavyweight, like the likes of the Klitschko brothers, who dominated the heavyweight division basically for 10 years before Fury, Joshua, Wilder come along. I don't think they would have beat him.
Phenomenal fight, mind.
It would have been really good.
But yeah, I agree.
I think he could have beaten both of them. You go to 90s heavyweights, Lennox Lewis would have been a good fight for him, but I think Usyk could have beat him.
Evander
Holyfield, I think he would have beaten.
Obviously Mike Tyson prime Tyson would
early Mike Tyson would have caused problems for him, but again I get the sense of Usyk would have been smart enough to let him burn himself out and pick him off late. Yeah. You could also argue that prime Mike Tyson, who was splattering everyone, could have got to him. It's you're never gonna know, because you're never gonna be able to see it, which is the one thing I hate more than anything about sport in particular, of whether it's great athletes or great teams. You're never going to see the best of the best from different eras go up against each other. But yeah, there's no doubt in my eyes he is there's no argument that can be made that he's one of the best of all time.
For me, he's boxing's Messi.
Yeah,
he is. If you know glove, he's your go. If you don't know glove, he's not your go of this generation.
Who's the Ronaldo of this generation? I know.
It's Tyson Fury. It's Tyson Fury. It is, though, isn't it?
Yeah, possibly.
The sort of less likable, more marketable, more egotistical, but just not as good. That's how I see it. I think realistically, we can't sit here and go, he's the best heavyweight of all time, because I don't know. I want to bow in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. I'd love to have been. I'd love to get in a time machine and go back to, Tokyo and watch Mike Tyson, Buster Douglas, or go back and watch, Rumble in the Jungle, all of that.
In terms of what we've seen, he is the best, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. He's the best we've seen in boxing since probably Mayweather.
Yeah. Well, I think only Mayweather can be the other person that says that he was so dominant in his era as well.
Yeah, but the problem with Mayweather has always got that, it's that last one, isn't it? That last fight against Conor McGregor, you're like, but you're not 50-0, are you? Because it was McGregor.
And I think it's just the way you sit, you look at that fight. Mayweather, brilliant boxer, but he hasn't got a moment for me that stands in your head the same way as that knockout will in 20 years' time.
He wasn't a moment's fighter. He was
brilliant. Technically, absolutely, no one could touch him. But this is just personally for me. I like the knockout, the big knockout moments, and like that's what sticks in my head. Like that is what in 20 years' time, when I'm talking to people about who never got the chance to watch Usyk, and you tell them about how good you like
back in my day.
Yeah, exactly. There'll be some heavyweight in years to come that people will be like, "Oh, you would have battered Usyk." And you'll be sitting there going, "Nah, you didn't watch him. You didn't realise how good he was."
Yeah,
and it's a difficult one.
We'll never know. We'll never see. But obviously, if you guys have an opinion, then let us know in the comment section, or I think it's comments on Spotify, whatever it is, if you're listening on Spotify. Let us know in any way possible. Do you think he's the best, or the best of our generation, best of all time? Where does he sit in the heavyweight rankings? I'm sure there's plenty 50, 60-year-old blokes in the comments right now giving us absolute pelters, wet noses, all of this. But thank you all for tuning in anyway. As always, to the Punches Chance podcast, 2 podcasts every week. So we're doing a preview and talking a little bit about the DAZN pay-per-view situation with Turkey Al-Sheikh on Thursday. So stick around for that. Subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you all later in the week.
Punches Chance. Punches Chance podcast.